Welcome to the deep dive, where we kind of, take a complex topic and try to pull out the stuff you really need to know.
Yeah, essential knowledge, right.
Exactly. It's like your shortcut to being well informed about something without, having to read a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
So today, we're going to dive into something super important,
Mm-hmm.
especially for, well, anyone who's involved in aviation.
Right.
But really, it's relevant for anyone who has to make decisions, where there's a chance things could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the concepts of hazard and risk.
Yeah, it's decision-making when the stakes are high.
Exactly. And we're doing this deep dive based on all the material you provided.
That's right. You sent us some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And our goal today is to unpack these ideas of hazard and risk.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to focus on how they apply in aviation.
Okay.
But as we go through it, you'll see that these principles, they're actually useful in all sorts of areas of life, not just flying.
Yeah, I think that'll become pretty clear. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
When we say hazard and risk, especially in aviation, what are we actually talking about?
Right. Well, luckily, the FAA actually gives us some pretty clear definitions.
Okay.
So if you look at the regulations,
Okay.
specifically 14 CFR Part 5, Section 5.5,
Got it.
you'll find that a hazard is a condition that could foreseeably cause or contribute to an aircraft accident.
Okay.
Now, they do define accident in another regulation.
Right.
That's in 49 CFR Part 830.
Okay.
But basically, think of a hazard as anything with the potential to go wrong, the source of danger, the thing that could cause trouble.
All right, so the potential for something bad to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, and risk is how we measure that potential, right?
Yeah, risk takes it a step further.
Okay.
It's not just about identifying what could be dangerous.
Right.
We also have to understand how likely it is to happen
Okay.
and how bad the consequences would be if it did.
So it's not enough to just know that something's dangerous.
Right.
We have to figure out how likely that danger is to actually happen.
And how bad it'll be if it does.
Exactly. It's the combination of likelihood and severity.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that combination is what defines risk.
Okay, so let's try to make this even clearer.
Okay.
Let's take an example that everyone can relate to.
Sure.
Imagine you're about to cross a street.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the traffic itself, all those cars driving by,
Right.
that's a constant hazard, right? It's always there.
It's always present. Yeah.
But the risk, the actual risk,
Mm-hmm.
changes a lot depending on what you do.
Exactly.
Like if you're standing on the sidewalk, safely out of the way,
Right.
the likelihood of getting hit by a car is pretty low.
Yeah. Very low.
So the risk is minimal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you step off that curb and into the crosswalk,
Right.
especially if you don't look or if cars are coming fast,
Oh, yeah.
suddenly the likelihood of something bad happening goes way up.
Absolutely.
So the risk is way higher,
Mhm.
even though the hazard, the traffic,
Right.
that stayed the same. Exactly. The hazard is the same.
It's your actions that change the risk.
Change the level of risk. Exactly.
And, we learn ways to manage that risk when we're crossing the street,
Right.
like looking both ways, waiting for the signal.
Procedures.
Yeah, procedures.
To keep us safe.
Exactly. And pilots, they have to do the same thing.
They absolutely do.
They have to learn to see the hazards, in aviation,
Mhm.
things like bad weather or problems with the aircraft.
Right. Or even their own fatigue.
Yeah, and then understand what to do to make those risks smaller.
Exactly. To mitigate the risks.
But even with all that training,
Mm.
some of the stuff you shared shows that even really experienced pilots
Yeah.
can sometimes miss these hazards or not respond the right way.
It's true.
So why is that?
Well, pilot training does a pretty good job of covering all the common hazards.
Right.
But it's impossible to prepare for every situation.
Right. You can't cover everything.
And that's where experience becomes so important.
Mhm.
But it's not just about the number of hours you've flown.
Right.
It's about what you've learned from those hours
Okay.
and how you use that to make good judgments.
Okay.
There's a saying among pilots that new aviators have a cup of luck and an empty cup of experience.
I like that.
The idea is that you need to fill that experience cup.
Okay.
And you do that by analyzing situations and putting safety first,
Mm-hmm.
not just relying on luck.
So it's not just about hoping nothing bad happens.
Right, because every hazard, even the small ones,
Mm.
they all have some level of risk attached to them.
Okay.
And relying on luck isn't a very good risk management strategy.
So it's about being proactive.
Yeah, about making deliberate choices to reduce risk.
And the case studies you provided really show how things can go wrong when those choices aren't made.
They really drive home the point.
Let's start with the first one.
Okay.
This one involved a pilot with 233 total flight hours.
So not a beginner.
Yeah, not brand new, but still relatively low experience.
Mm.
And he rented a plane for a VFR cross-country flight.
Okay, visual flight rules.
Right, but what's important here is that he only had 2.6 hours.
Wow, that's not much.
Yeah, 2.6 hours in that specific type of aircraft.
Okay, so not very familiar with the plane.
Right, and that's a key hazard right there.
It definitely is.
Because when he tried to start the engine before going to Erie, Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
he needed help from the operator.
Oh, wow, so there was already a sign of trouble.
Yeah, and the operator even suggested he get back to Connecticut, his home base,
Okay.
before sunset.
Right.
Like a warning about flying at night.
Especially in a plane he wasn't familiar with.
Exactly. But later, the pilot called and said the flight to Erie was fine
Okay.
and that he planned to be back around 7 p.m.
Sounds pretty routine so far.
Yeah, maybe a little late,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing that screams disaster. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. He actually left Erie at night.
Oh, wow. So he ignored that advice.
Yeah, and sadly, there was a fatal crash.
Oh, no.
The NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board,
Mm-hmm.
they investigated and said the probable cause was a partial loss of engine power for
Yeah.
reasons they couldn't figure out,
Right.
along with the pilot losing control while trying to avoid trees during a forced landing.
At night.
Yeah, at night.
So a really bad situation made worse by the darkness.
Exactly. And they also mentioned contributing factors.
Okay, like what?
A rough running engine, which was there from the start.
Ah, that early warning sign.
Yeah, and of course the nighttime conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just one bad decision.
Right.
It was a bunch of smaller things,
Mm-hmm.
like not knowing the plane well, the engine issue,
Right.
that suggestion to come back before dark.
And ignoring all of them.
Yeah, and all of that together, plus flying at night with low experience.
Especially in unfamiliar terrain during an emergency.
Yeah, it just escalated into a tragedy.
It's a reminder that seemingly small things can add up.
Absolutely, especially when you add in a big risk factor like night flying.
Right. It can turn a challenging situation into a disastrous one.
Now, the second case study is totally different.
Okay.
This one's about an airline accident involving a big jet, a transport category.
Right.
And this plane was taken up to its maximum altitude.
Wow. So operating at the edge of the envelope?
Yeah, which sounds risky in itself.
Mm-hmm. Any little thing could go wrong up there.
And what happened?
Well, the plane lost both engines.
Double engine flameout.
Yeah, after an aerodynamic stall.
So the wings lost lift.
Right, because the airflow over them got disrupted.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this led to a fatal crash.
So even with all the training and experience of an airline crew,
Mm-hmm.
this still happened.
Unfortunately, yes.
What did the NTSB find?
Well, their investigation, it uncovered a bunch of problems.
Okay.
They cited the pilot's behavior as unprofessional.
Okay.
They said they deviated from standard procedures.
Hmm.
And basically, their airmanship was poor.
Wow, so they weren't following the rules.
And that led to an emergency they couldn't recover from.
And was that partly because of training?
Yeah, the NTSB said the training was inadequate for that
For
situation.
something so extreme?
Exactly.
So unprofessional behavior, ignoring procedures at that altitude.
It suggests they weren't taking safety seriously enough.
Yeah, and maybe they didn't understand the real hazards.
Of flying at the limits.
Right, of what the plane could do.
Hmm.
And the NTSB also found they didn't prepare for an emergency landing.
Right. They didn't do it in time.
And they didn't talk to ATC, air traffic control, which
Right.
is essential in an emergency.
Yeah, you need all the help you can get.
And the most critical thing,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't handle the checklist right for a double engine failure.
Oh, wow.
And that led to the engine core seizing up.
Engine cores, those are like the heart of the jet engines.
Yeah, and when they seize up, it's called core lock,
Core lock.
which is the worst possible thing.
The absolute worst thing when you've already lost both engines,
Huh?
because it means you can't restart them.
Right, and the NTSB said that core lock itself made it harder to recover,
Mm.
and that the manuals didn't stress how important it is to keep the engine core spinning.
Even after a flameout.
Yeah, to prevent core lock.
So it's a picture of multiple hazards,
Mm-hmm.
pushing the plane too far, ignoring procedures,
Right.
not being ready for an emergency.
And even with all the training these pilots had,
Right.
it wasn't enough.
Not when discipline breaks down and safety is ignored.
It shows how a failure to deal with hazards.
Whether it's bad decisions, lack of preparation, or just ignoring procedures,
Yeah.
it could lead to tragedy.
So in both these cases, the general aviation pilot and the airline crew,
Two very different situations,
yeah,
but a similar outcome.
it all comes down to how they handled the hazards.
Right. Or failed to handle them.
And that brings us to something really important. The pilot's attitude.
Right, because it's not just about knowledge and skills.
Exactly. So what role does attitude play in all of this?
Well, there's this fascinating concept in aviation psychology called hazardous attitudes.
Hazardous attitudes.
Yeah, these are like patterns of thinking
Yep.
or personality traits that can make a pilot more likely to take risks.
So it's not just about what they know, it's about how they think.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and research has identified 5 of these common hazardous attitudes.
Okay, I'd love to hear more about these.
It's really crucial for pilots to be aware of them.
Okay,
And actually, not just pilots, but anyone in a high-risk environment.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so let's go through them.
All right, let's do it.
The first one is anti-authority.
Okay, anti-authority.
And the thought process there is, don't tell me what to do.
So basically, not liking rules.
Yeah, they might see rules as unnecessary or a challenge to their freedom.
Right, like the rules don't apply to them.
It can be healthy for a pilot to question things
Of course.
if they think there's a mistake or a safer way to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But with this attitude, it often goes too far. They ignore safety measures just because they don't like being told what to do.
So it's about control more than safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what's the next one?
The next one is impulsivity.
Okay, impulsivity.
And this one is all about acting quickly, the do-it-now mindset.
So like rushing into things?
Right. They don't stop to think about the consequences
Okay.
or to consider different options.
They just go with the first thing that comes to mind.
Exactly.
That's got to be dangerous, especially when you're flying.
It definitely can be.
Okay, what's the third one?
The third one is invulnerability.
Invulnerability.
And this is a really dangerous one
Okay, why is that?
because they think it won't happen to me.
So like they're immune to danger.
They might know accidents happen,
Right.
but they don't believe it'll happen to them.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, they take unnecessary risks because they think they're somehow special.
So they ignore warnings and push the limits
Because
because they don't think they'll be the one to suffer the
yeah,
consequences.
right. It's a dangerous illusion.
Okay, what's next?
The next one is macho.
Macho.
Yeah, the I can do it attitude.
So like overconfidence?
Yeah, but it's more about proving themselves.
Oh,
They need to show off their skills, even if it's risky.
so they might attempt things beyond their abilities.
Right, just to impress others or boost their ego,
And that can lead to really bad decisions.
especially in aviation.
Okay. And the last one?
The last one is resignation.
Resignation.
And this is the what's the use attitude.
So like giving up before they even start.
It's a feeling of helplessness, like they have no control.
Okay.
They think good outcomes are just luck
Hmm.
and bad outcomes are fate.
So they don't even try to make things safer.
Exactly, because they don't think it'll make a difference.
Wow. These are all really powerful and potentially dangerous ways of thinking.
Really are.
And it's kind of scary to think that they could be influencing pilots.
Even experienced ones.
Yeah, without them even realizing it.
Right, because the material emphasized that most pilots, they believe they'll respond the right way.
Okay.
But these underlying attitudes,
Right.
they can really distort their perception
Of the risks.
and affect their actions.
So looking back at those case studies,
Mhm.
do you think any of these attitudes might have played a role?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely possible.
Okay, how so?
Well, in the first case, with a pilot flying at night
Mm-hmm.
in a plane he didn't know well,
Right.
maybe there was some invulnerability there.
Like he thought he could handle it.
Yeah. Despite the risks
And maybe even a bit of impulsivity.
in taking off at night after the operator's warning.
Right, like he didn't think it through.
Mm-hmm.
And in the airline accident,
Right.
ignoring procedures, pushing the plane to its limits.
That could suggest a bit of the macho attitude.
Like they thought they were better than the rules.
Or that they could handle anything.
Yeah, it's never just one thing.
But understanding these attitudes helps us see why people take risks.
Okay, so we know these negative attitudes exist, but what can we do about them?
Well, the good news is that there are antidotes.
Antidotes, like a cure.
Yeah, like a way to counteract those negative thoughts.
Okay, tell me more.
So for anti-authority,
Right.
the antidote is to remember, follow the rules, they're usually right.
Because those rules are there for a reason.
Exactly, and the source puts it even more bluntly.
Okay.
It says, follow the rules, they help prevent accidents.
It doesn't get much clearer than that.
It doesn't.
Okay, what about impulsivity?
For impulsivity, the antidote is, not so fast, think first.
So basically, just taking a moment to pause,
Yeah, before you do anything,
to consider your options.
and the potential consequences.
Okay, makes sense.
And for invulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
the antidote is to remind yourself, It could happen to me.
So bringing that sense of personal risk back into focus.
Exactly.
And macho.
For macho, it's taking chances is foolish.
Because it's not about proving anything.
It's about being safe.
And lastly, resignation.
For resignation, the antidote is, I'm not helpless, I can make a difference.
That's a powerful one.
It's about taking ownership of your safety.
So it's not about giving up, it's about taking action.
Exactly.
And these antidotes, they really work.
They can be really effective.
Okay.
These sources have this great story about a pilot named Steve.
Okay.
Who decided to buzz his friends at a park.
Buzz his friends, like fly low over them.
Yeah, which is obviously against the rules.
Right. Very dangerous.
And in that one scenario, you could see how multiple hazardous attitudes were at play.
Oh, wow. How so?
Well, first, it was anti-authority because he knew it was wrong.
Okay.
Then invulnerability because he'd done it before without any problems.
Mm-hmm.
Then impulsivity because he didn't think about the risks when the plane didn't climb like he expected.
Okay.
And even a bit of resignation when he had a near miss.
So all those attitudes combined.
Yeah, in one dangerous situation.
And if he'd used those antidotes.
If he followed the rules, taken a moment to think, acknowledged that it could happen to him.
Right.
And believed he could make a difference.
He could have avoided that near miss altogether.
Exactly. It shows how powerful these antidotes can be.
Really powerful stuff.
It is.
Now, shifting gears a little bit.
Okay.
The materials you sent talk about accident rates.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really interesting difference between air carriers and general aviation.
Right. Part 121 versus Part 91.
Yeah, because air carriers have gotten much safer over the years.
Their accident rate has really gone down.
But general aviation accidents, they've stayed pretty much the same.
That's right. It's a big concern.
So why do you think that is?
Well, it's a complex issue, but I think it comes down to a few things.
Oh.
Different levels of oversight.
Right.
Different training requirements. And a different safety culture overall.
So what kinds of accidents are most common in general aviation?
Well, the FAA has this analysis of fatal accidents between 2001 and 2016.
Okay.
And the top 4 causes are loss of control and flight. Yeah. Then controlled flight into terrain.
CFIT.
Right. Then system component failure, specifically power plant.
SCFBP.
And finally, fuel-related accidents.
Okay, and these aren't just isolated incidents, right?
Not at all.
Like our source says, these are usually the result of a chain of events.
A whole series of things going wrong.
And often it comes down to bad risk management.
It's about understanding how all these events connect.
Yeah, to see the bigger picture.
And behind each of these causes,
Mm-hmm.
there are specific hazards that pilots need to be aware of.
Okay, so let's break those down.
Sure.
What kind of things lead to a loss of control in flight?
Well, one common one is continuing VFR flight into IMC.
So flying visually when you should be on instruments?
Exactly. And then there's wake turbulence from bigger planes.
Okay.
Thunderstorms.
Right.
With all their turbulence and downdrafts.
Right. Those are super dangerous.
Instrument failure, improper loading,
Mm-hmm.
even losing visual references, like at night or over water.
So many things can go wrong.
It's about being prepared for those unexpected situations.
And what about controlled flight into terrain?
CFIT, yeah, that's when a perfectly good airplane is flown into the ground.
Because the pilot isn't aware of their surroundings.
Right?
So what are the typical hazards there?
Often it's continuing VFR into low ceilings or poor visibility,
Okay.
especially at night or in mountains.
Right, where it's harder to see.
And there's misinterpreting charts, flying too low,
Mm.
high density altitude, which affects how the plane performs.
And just being distracted in the cockpit?
Right, not paying attention to what's around you.
Okay. And system component failure, power plant.
So that's usually an engine problem.
What are some signs that pilots should look out for?
Well, before takeoff, if there's any trouble during the engine run-up,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sign something might be wrong.
Right.
And after takeoff,
Yeah.
unusual noises, vibrations, or power fluctuations.
Oh, okay.
Those are all warnings that shouldn't be ignored.
Right, because they could lead to something more serious. And lastly, fuel-related accidents.
You'd think those wouldn't be so common anymore.
Yeah, but they still happen.
Sadly, they do.
So what are the hazards there?
Well, fuel starvation and fuel exhaustion.
So either the fuel isn't getting to the engine,
Right.
or you just run out completely.
Exactly.
And what causes that?
Bad planning, wrong calculations,
Okay.
not understanding the fuel system,
Mm-hmm.
pushing the plane's range too far, or even just not wanting to stop and refuel.
So it's about being disciplined.
Yeah, and sticking to your plan.
Recognizing these hazards is obviously crucial.
Absolutely.
But how do pilots actually do that in the real world?
There's several ways.
Okay.
First, visual observation.
So just looking around.
Yeah, seeing thunderstorms, terrain, other aircraft.
Okay.
Then pre-flight planning.
Right. Checking weather, calculating performance, making sure the plane is good to go.
Exactly.
What else?
Well, onboard equipment helps a lot.
Like what kind of stuff?
GPS, data link, weather, traffic systems.
So technology can play a big role.
A huge role.
Okay.
We're doing communication with ATC, air traffic control.
And flight service specialists.
Right, they can give you real-time updates on conditions.
So staying in touch is important.
Very important.
Anything else?
And don't forget about post-flight inspections.
So even after the flight is over?
Yeah, checking tires, brakes, looking for leaks.
Okay.
Because sometimes hazards aren't obvious until after you land.
Right. So it's a continuous process.
It is, from before you even get in the plane to after you park it.
And to help with all of this, there's the PAVE checklist, right?
Exactly. PAV,
Which stands for?
pilot, aircraft, environment, and external pressures.
Okay, so it helps pilots think about hazards in a structured way.
Right, so you don't miss anything important.
Let's go through each category.
Okay.
Starting with pilot.
So that's the P in PAVE.
What are the key factors there?
Well, first, qualification.
Okay.
Does the pilot have the right certificates, ratings, type ratings?
So they're legally and technically allowed to fly the plane.
Exactly. And sadly, we see accidents where pilots try to fly in IMC.
Instrument meteorological conditions.
Right, when they don't have an instrument rating.
So that's a big one.
It is.
So else?
Then there's currency.
Okay.
Has the pilot flown enough recently?
To meet the minimum requirements.
Exactly, but remember, currency doesn't equal proficiency.
Right. You could be legal to fly, but still not have the skills to handle a tough situation.
Right, and then there's proficiency.
Yeah.
So can the pilot actually manage the flight safely?
Especially in unfamiliar planes or weather.
Exactly. And finally, aeromedical condition,
Okay.
which we often remember with the IMSAFE checklist.
Right. IMSAFE.
Let's go through that one quickly.
Okay.
It stands for illness, medications, stress, alcohol, fatigue, and emotion.
So it's all about the pilot's physical and mental state.
Exactly.
Okay, so illness.
Right. Even a minor illness can affect your judgment.
And your reaction time.
Yeah. Then medication,
Okay.
both prescription and over-the-counter.
Right.
They can have side effects.
That make it unsafe to fly.
Exactly. Then there's stress from your personal life or work.
Right. That can really mess with your focus.
Absolutely. And alcohol.
Obviously a big no-no.
It is. There's the 8-hour rule.
No alcohol within 8 hours of flying.
But even after 8 hours, there can be lingering effects.
Right. So it's better to be safe than sorry.
Always.
If fatigue.
Whether it's from one bad night of sleep
Mm.
or just chronic sleep deprivation.
It can really make it hard to think clearly.
Absolutely.
And finally, emotion.
Right. Strong feelings,
Like anger or anxiety.
even extreme
It
happiness,
distracts you.
and make it harder to focus on flying.
Okay, and I've also seen IMSAFE include eating
Oh, right. That's a good one.
as a reminder to stay nourished and hydrated.
Especially on long flights.
Exactly.
So it's a pretty comprehensive checklist.
yeah, it covers a lot
But it's important to remember all those factors.
because they can all affect safety.
They can.
Okay, moving on to aircraft.
The A in POFI.
What kind of hazards do we need to consider there?
We look at both performance and equipage.
Let's start with performance.
So that's things like fuel and range,
Making sure you have enough fuel for the flight.
plus extra in case something goes wrong.
And accurate calculations are key.
Yeah, because a mistake there can be really dangerous.
Then takeoff and landing performance.
Right. Thinking about runway length, conditions, obstacles.
So basically making sure you can get off the ground and back down safely.
Exactly. Then altitude performance.
Especially at high altitudes.
Right, where the air is thinner.
And the plane might not perform as well.
Exactly. Then payload.
Making sure you're not too heavy.
Right, with passengers.